So next step is to create S3 buckets for root domain as well as for the subdomain name. And for that we need to go to S3 and you can search it as here on the search bar. It will show up here and you can click on this star to make it favorites and then it will be added here on the bar. So you can click S3 from here and here we can create our bucket. So for creating S3 bucket, we can use it for general purpose only and we can give the bucket name here. So the first bucket name should be your root domain name, which is cloudwithharry.com. And if you already have that bucket created, you can choose it from here by using this button. Keep everything else default. We will have ACLs disabled, which is recommended. We don't want to use ACLs for this bucket. All objects in this bucket are owned by this account. Access to this bucket and its objects is specified using only policies. So in case if you want to provide access to the bucket and the bucket objects, we will use the bucket policies. That's what it means. We don't want to basically enable ACLs, which it says that object in this bucket can be owned by other AWS account. Access to this bucket and its object can be specified using ACLs. Now AWS recommend to use ACL disabled and use bucket policies to provide access to your bucket objects. Here you can write your streamlined bucket policies and control the access to the objects. It provide you more a refined way to do that. So this is something which is recommended by AWS. Now for block public access, so we will keep block all public access to this bucket. We will provide access to the bucket objects directly to our users. And I will show you how we will allow access to the bucket objects, but using CloudFront distribution where we will create the origin access control. And once we will configure that, using that, we will allow the access to our objects, not directly. So right now we will keep the block public access checked for this bucket. We don't want bucket versioning and we don't want to add any tags as such. If you want, you can add that. And then here is the default encryption. So by default, any object in AWS S3 bucket are encrypted using Amazon S3 managed keys. So it's a server-side encryption with Amazon S3 managed keys. So this is default encryption on all the objects basically. So any data in your S3 bucket, any object will be by default encrypted. So the data at rest is encrypted. So it's kind of more secure. You can use server-side encryption with AWS Key Management Service as well. And then here for the bucket keys, you just have to use the default configuration. We don't have to go into advanced settings and just click on create bucket. So our bucket Cloud with Harry, which is the root domain name, is created. Now let's create another bucket with the subdomain name. So it will be www.cloudwithharry.com, and we will keep all the things similar to what we did with the other S3 bucket which we created for the root domain name. We don't have to make changes anywhere. Everything you can take as default and just click on create bucket again. So now we have two buckets created. One is Cloud with Harry and another one is Cloud with www.cloudwithharry, which is our subdomain name. Now we need to upload content to the subdomain name on the S3 bucket. That's our step 4. So you can go to Cloud with Harry S3 bucket and upload the website content using the upload option here. Now to upload website content, we need our sample website content, and you can download sample website content from my GitHub. You can go to this link. I have provided this link in the video description. You can read this over here. If you have any questions, anything which specific to the whole exercise, you can also read my blog post. This is static website hosting on AWS S3 advanced level. This also has all the information that we are going through. So in case if you like to read and implement, you can always follow this blog post, and it has all the 13 steps that we are currently following. So as of now, we need to download the website content, and then you can use this and clone this repository in your local. You can open a terminal and just type git clone and the web URL from the GitHub project and clone this project in your local. It should be there in the folder wherever you have cloned it. So let's go back to the folder and we can then review the content, and then we can upload that content on the S3 bucket. Okay, so let's quickly review our project that we have cloned. I cloned the project in demos. So let's go inside and then AWS static website hosting. So this is the project that I have cloned from the GitHub, and inside that there's a folder called code, and here we have the content for our static website. So for static website, we need index.html. That will be your main page, the home page when someone will go and browse your website, this is the page that will open for them. The other files are just supporting files for your website. So let's go and check what's there in index.html. So here you can see that it's basically displaying all 13 steps for the exercise that we are doing currently. And yeah, and that's it. Like, we don't have anything else. It is just a simple website that I have created, and we will use this to host on S3. So yeah, that's what we have. We just have to upload this content on S3. Okay, one more thing, we can have error.html page also for the website. That page is an optional page. In case you want, you can add it and upload that to S3 as well. But it's an optional, so it's up to you whether you want it or not. So for this exercise, as of now, I'm not going to use it. So let's go to our S3 bucket and we can then upload. Okay, so before we move further, let's review what we have completed so far. So we have purchased a domain, or we are using an existing domain. We have created public hosted zone for our external domain. We created S3 buckets, one for the root domain and one for the subdomain. Now the fourth step is basically we need to upload website content to the subdomain S3 bucket. So just now we have cloned the repository from the GitHub and we reviewed the sample code for the website. Now let's upload the website content to the S3 bucket. And for that, we need to go to the AWS management console. So this is my AWS management console. And here you can see that I am on Amazon S3. And these are the buckets that I had created: cloudwithharry.com and www.cloudwithharry.com. And as per the instructions, we need to upload website content to subdomain S3 bucket. So let's click that. And here you can use this option upload, and then you can add files as well as folders. So if you have a website where you have like folders also, then use this folder option. And but if you just have like sample data which you got from the GitHub, then you can just add files and upload the content to S3. So let's click on add files, and here is my data in demos and in code. So I will upload index.html and all the other supporting files to Amazon S3. And that's it. We can just click on upload, and within few seconds our data should be there in the S3 bucket. So we have uploaded the sample website data to S3 bucket, which is our subdomain bucket. And now next thing is we need to enable website hosting on the root domain. So that should be our fifth step. So set up root domain for the website redirect. So as I said initially and kind of showed you that we are implementing a use case where we want our users to use root domain or subdomain to access our website. So for that, we created two buckets, and on one bucket we are hosting the content of the website, and on the second bucket we are basically enabling the website hosting but with a redirect option. So let's go there and see what does it mean. So let's go to Cloud with Harry, and in the properties, if you scroll down to the bottom, you will see this static website hosting, and currently it is disabled. So let's click add it and enable this in static website hosting. Now you can see that there are two types of hosting that you can do from S3 bucket. You can make this S3 bucket and host a static website. If you do that, you will need to upload content to this bucket. You need to have index.html file and error.html file. This error.html is optional, but index.html is something that you need to provide, and that will be your default page when someone will access your website from the browser. So we can use this option, but in this scenario, you will not be able to redirect your users if your users are coming with subdomain like www.example.com. So to implement that use case, we have to use this option, redirect request for an object. Now with this option, what we are doing is that any request comes for website, like then route those requests to the other bucket. And what is the name of that other bucket? We can just type it here, www.cloudwithharry.com. And we want to use HTTPS as a protocol. So any user who connect to our website, that connection will be encrypted and it will use HTTPS protocol. So yeah, this is what we need to do to enable static website hosting on our root domain name. And that's it. You just have to enable this, click on the redirect request for an object,
provide the subdomain bucket name, and then for protocol click on HTTPS and then hit save changes. So now you can see at the bottom that this is the S3 bucket endpoint created for our website. So you can click that, but nothing will show because we have blocked the public access to this S3 bucket. If you go to the permissions, you can see that block all public access is currently on. We don't have any bucket policy also added to this bucket. So basically there is no one who can access this bucket endpoint and the objects which this bucket is basically serving by redirecting the request to the other bucket. So now is the time for us to review what is the next step. Now we can see the next step is request a public certificate from Amazon Certificate Manager. So let's go to Amazon Certificate Manager and then we can request public SSL certificate from there for our domain name.